Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, Blind to What Hurts. Blind to What Hurts. There are moments in our lives where we are not going to see, where we are grieving much about anyone or anything, because the mantra is that we are to get over some things and move on. And some of you all, you did just that. And the Lord is continuing to bless you with peace, with healing, with increase, and whatever else it is that you have gone to the Lord about. But there are those among us who are hurting. They are hurting, but they refuse to see what it is that is causing the confusion in and around them. It is better just to pretend as if events didn't take place, pretend as if someone likes you when they really don't, pretend as if folks are in support of something you are a part of. It's just easier. But I will tell you that as you walk with the Lord, once again, He shines the light on those dark areas of our lives. And sometimes the truth takes us by the face, looks us in the eyes, and says, you are going to see this. And we can struggle with whatever it is that we are trying to run away from all we want to, but truth is going to grab us by the face, make us sit down, and hold us accountable if necessary, or hold someone else accountable. There is no more being blind to what hurts. And then the tears fall and the yells are coming out of one's mouth, and there is possibly a fight, whether it's in the courtroom or away from the courtroom. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. I am not going to be blind to what hurts any longer. I'm going to face the fact that I hurt inside. That is a good starting place. God can work with you right there when you admit that you hurt for the past, that you hurt for the present, that you hurt for the future. You just hurt. And that for years you have suffocated yourself with all sorts of activity because you did not want to face anything that hurt. Others didn't want you to face the truth. And so, of course, they said the kind of things, did the kind of things to keep you blind. But this message today is going to challenge us to think about the things that hurt. Someone is hurting his or her family with all of the work that he or she is involved in. There's some idol worshiping of the job because that's what makes me feel good, because I'm in control, because those people respect me, they love me, they admire me, or whatever else. Someone is idol worshiping the church. I love my church. This is what gives me peace. My family, they don't care about me. But there are those who do care. There are those who want to be loved. There are those that have been reaching out and saying a number of things to try to get the attention of the one who is blind to the hurt. If they're blind to their own hurt, they're also blind to the people who are hurting around them as well. And I will tell you, when it comes to work, you cannot treat people like employees. Let me repeat that. You cannot treat people who are close to you, like employees. Okay, it's time for your performance review. Let's see how you have been performing lately. Well, it looks like you haven't been doing so well. So I've got to make a decision whether I should keep you around or fire you. Oh my goodness. We are talking about people's hearts. We're talking about people who are children of God being tossed aside, being mistreated, being disrespected, being wounded over and over again. And the person who's doing it wants to be blind. And they're doing a good job of putting on the dark glasses and pretending as if there's nothing wrong when there's a whole lot wrong. And a lot of these folks who want to be blind are the catalyst behind much of it. Yes, there's others that typically are involved, but usually the ringleader is the one who wants to remain blind. Because if I consider myself to be perfect and sweet and nice and a good man or a good woman, I'm not going to want to see where I've hurt people, where I started the fight. I'm not going to want to see that. Don't tell me, Lord, that I'm at fault. It was the woman that you gave me, says Adam. And there's plenty of Adams walking around. Don't tell me that I had something to do with my kids acting like this, Lord. You know that they got every opportunity to do good things, but they chose this life. But didn't you aid in that? I don't recall. Okay, so then the Lord starts putting some information in front of us, whether it comes through another human being or whether it suddenly pops up in our minds during some quiet time or when we're sleeping. We cannot, let me repeat that, we cannot act as if we are not responsible for some things when people are hurting. Now that's enough of we, right? Because sometimes people, they get a little bit irritated, a little bit frustrated, right? Because here we go again, another message where I got to examine myself. Well, we'll take a break and we'll look at those other people, right? Take a deep sigh, relax, and listen to the rest of this message. We got some individuals who they're blind to what they've done to cause some problems in a relationship, in a family, at a workplace, at the church, in the civic group, at the family reunion, the baby shower, wedding shower, the last holiday that was celebrated. They're blind because sometimes they're not choosing to be that way, but because someone is dropping information into their ear to keep them in a state of ignorance. And until someone shows up and says, this is what you did that hurt me, that person is going to remain ignorant. And we cannot blame folks. We cannot blame folks when there's people around them that are putting mess in the game. Let's use the example of parental alienation. And if you're not familiar with it, look it up. A father or a mother who decides that he or she wants to move on with his or her life, they want to bury the pain, they will come up with all sorts of ways to get the children to do the same. And part of that is that we've got to alienate parents from the children. I recall a weak moment when my sons were really small. And I was saying to myself, I really don't want to put my children in the arms of their dad again, even though I had originally agreed to it. But there was this moment where I was feeling this feeling that came over me. And for the first time, I understood why parents will kidnap their children to keep from another parent having them, because something on the inside says, I got to protect my child. I got to protect my child. I don't know what's going on, but something is going on, and I don't want to I just don't want the other parent to pick them up. And you got to fight that, because sometimes that's not anything but your emotions. It's just this feeling where you just feel like you've got to do something because you love your children. But when you know that there is no evidence, right, that your child is being abused or hurt or what have you, you got to just go with it as much as it hurts. And then when the other parent looks at you in this way as if you shouldn't hurt, that hurts too. But what goes around comes around. And I tell you that If you are that parent without your children right now, don't worry, because sooner or later they're going to come back to you. I know some folks want it to happen sooner rather than later, but I'm telling you that if you have a quality relationship or you have some type of connection or that child knows your name, they are going to find you. And when they find you, don't be that one that wants to put on the rose-colored glasses or put on the dark shades and not see the hurt that you may have contributed to, the hurt that you experienced when you were with their father or their mother, the hurt that they are coming to you and saying, this is how I feel. Because you can alienate your own self from your children when you don't acknowledge the pain. Now, that's just an example. But we've got some folks who they just don't want to see. They don't want to see that the relationship could be saved if you would just spend more time with your wife or with your husband, if you would just compliment her or compliment him. Once again, this is not a workplace relationship. Right? For some folks, but they treat their relationships like it's a workplace relationship. I'm not going to act inappropriate. I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to do that. Okay, that works for the job. That makes you a excellent employee, but that doesn't work on the home front. You've got to have communication. You've got to be able to reach out and touch someone. You see what I mean? And give that person that you live with some attention, some love, some affection, because there's too many people out here. And I have done articles. There's too many people out here that are cheating and creeping emotionally and physically. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that folks just don't know how to have a relationship with the one that they live with. So they think, well, if I have a fling or whatever, that counts for a relationship. It strokes my ego. I feel good. But meanwhile, you ignoring the pain. You're ignoring the pain that's at home. You're running away from the pain. And then what makes you think that the relationship that you're with or that you're in with the new person is going to be anything special? That's going to die out too. There are experts that say that honeymoon period, that newness wears off 3 to 6 months and sometimes shorter, depending on how hurt somebody is. So the good times don't last long. I said that at the end of my book, and When Mothers Cry. And then you got to figure out how to just remain sane, right? How to have a sense of peace when those good times don't last long. How are you going to be able to pick yourself up by your bootstraps now that you done went through this process of purging out that pain, right? Some folks, nope, I was once blind, but I no longer am blind. I can see now, and I'm purging this pain. I'm getting it out. You got to go. We've been sad long enough. We've been depressed long enough. We've been cussing and fussing long enough. We've been keeping up mess long enough. No, I'm not blind anymore. I'm not blind to my pain or to the one who's in front of me. You see? And then what tends to happen is once you start waking up, you want to start waking other people up. But some of them folks aren't ready for that. They're not ready for it, and they are going to fight you on it. All right, that's good that you're awakened and you know the truth and, you know, God's with you, but don't expect me to go along with all that. Okay, well, you stay in your mess. Oh, now you think you're holy. Oh, you know, and they make a joke or they talk evil or ugly or whatever. But you see, when you truly care and love, and for some of you all who refuse to see the truth around you, when a person truly cares for you, loves you, they want what's best for you. But that person who don't really care and love you, they are not considering those deep things, those things that really are just causing havoc in your life. They're not concerned about all that. They're just looking at what's the benefit. What's the benefit of you being in my life right now? But they're not trying to go deep with you about too much of anything. And for some folks, it's just a fling. That's all it is. It's nothing more. Or I'm just curious right now about this particular ethnicity because I never had this particular ethnicity take up time with me. I'm telling you, God is moving in those lives who are willing to receive him. But in those lives where people are not willing to receive him, they remain blind. And we watch and we see, and no matter what we say to them, they're not coming up out of that blindness because they don't want to know the truth. They don't want to see things for what they really are. This is why you get the quarrels. This is why some folks stop talking to you, because there you go. You coming with that truth again. I want to stay blind. Okay. Because blind is safe. Blind is happy. Blind is fun. Okay. I don't want you coming over here telling me about my friends again, Mom. I don't want you coming over here telling me about this job that I have, because, you know, this is money. And I know that it is not morally right, but it's money. There's plenty of people who, listen to this, they were wounded, right? Hurt years ago. So then they get mixed up with these groups and with these work environments where the folks give them some attention and they say, hey, bad attention is better than no attention. And they get paid. They get paid for things like prostitution. They get paid for things like sadomasochism. And, you know, they get paid for drug use and drug running and whatever else. They do some dirty things. And they strategically make themselves be blind to all of the immorality that they're a part of. And they don't want folks around them that's going to show them where they are in error. So if you're that one, of course they're going to push you away. Of course they're not going to pick up the phone and call you. Of course, because you are going to tell me something that's going to keep me out of trouble. But trouble's fun right now, Dad. You see? I don't want to talk to favorite auntie because I know that she prays a lot and I know that she reads her Bible. So no, And then I don't want to talk to my uncle because I know he going to see through me. No. You see, party like a rock star. Nobody wants their buzz. They don't want their buzz, their fade, whatever you want to call it nowadays. They don't want that being bothered. They don't want anything that they're doing right now being disturbed. I'll be old before I know it, so I'll catch up with God then. But right now, it's good. Life is real good. Devil always makes things look good in the beginning. I mean, I remember thinking that way myself too. It's always good in the beginning until you start looking in the mirror and you start seeing premature aging because of all the partying. And then when you start seeing you're not eating as good as you should. And then when you start having all sorts of health ailments because your immune system, right, it can't keep taking all of that. And then you start finding out that folks who claim that they love you and like you and all that, they were just using you for whatever you could give them. Then it's not so fun. Because see, sometimes people, they can't hear from people. So circumstances have to take place. Situations, challenges, bad stuff has to take place for people to come up out of their blindness, to come up out of their stupor, right? And some of you, that's how you got to know the Lord, was through all of your trouble. God, I'm in a position right now where nobody cares about what I'm going through. I'm in a position right now, Lord Jesus, where nobody knows what I'm going through. I need your help. God says, okay. And then he starts leading you toward some help. But I'm telling you, being blind to what hurts is never a good thing. It is never a good thing. It may be okay for a hot minute. And then the next thing you know, that flood of pent up tears and fears starts showing up. I gotta face this. Yep. Because if you don't face things, you start being a problem for other people. And I'm seeing this. When you don't want to face the fact that you got shortcomings, that you messed up in some way when it came to a relationship, that you could do some things to make things right with a friend or, with a family member or with a partner, but you choose not to because there's still some stuff from way back when that's tied to the way you're behaving right now. When you refuse to just deal with these issues, you become problems for others. And then this is why they rebel. This is why they're disrespectful. This is why they're evil, because a person is only going to take but so much. Okay. Even the best Christians are only going to take but so much. That's why you have some Christians divorcing Christians, because they're saying, listen, I'm acting like Jesus, but I'm not Jesus. And you're going to stop treating me as if I'm supposed to save you, damsel in distress, knight in shining armor, formerly. Used to be. You gonna stop this. And the person says, well, what if I don't? Okay, well, I know how to walk. It's real simple. And we live in a society, and the Lord has shown me this over and over again. We live in a society of rebellion. People are rebellious. They are stubborn. They are unforgiving. They are prideful. They put more faith in their things than they ever will anything else. Things that rust, things that tear, break up, things that are stolen. They'll even put their faith in an animal, but they won't think twice about God or the people of God. And we talk about genuine people of God. We're not talking about them fake folks, those folks that think God is like a genie to them. We're not talking about those that serve many different gods and won't acknowledge Jesus. We're not talking about those folks. We're not talking about hypocrites, right? Those who pretend, or backsliders, or apostates. I was once a Christian, but now I'm not. People who have fallen away. We're not talking about those folks. A lot of times people, when you say people of God, they want to lump all them other folks in with the group that is actually proactive, who are not only called but chosen. No, you can't do that, because all you're doing is you are just talking yourself out of really walking this walk, because you're so busy focused on everything that's negative with folks who claim to be Christian. No, I challenge you to focus on the things that God is telling you right now through this message, as well as others. I don't get this kind of wisdom because, oh, well, I just decided to wake up one day and start talking. God put something in my spirit. It's like I don't know. Sometimes it's a warming sensation. Sometimes it's a butterfly sensation. Sometimes it's just something that comes over me that says there's somebody out there that's hurting. There's somebody out there that is going through much, and the Lord is saying, speak, and the words just come. And so if you're the one who is witnessing a lot of folks who's blind to the hurt, right? Who want you not to mention anything about the hurt, who want you to just stay in your little box and leave us alone. You don't need to be staying in any box, but what you do need is to just slowly but surely work your plan so that you can be able to do what it is that God wants you to do for somebody else who is willing to receive that message that you've been given to those folks who could care less, you see. Because there are so many people who are going through, but at the same time, though, they don't want to understand why they're going through. They think that the blindness is what is helping them. They delay a lot of times the healing process because the blindness is a false light. Okay. The blindness is a false light. It makes you feel like you are getting somewhere when you're really getting nowhere. As long as I was blind to certain fears, as long as I was blind to the way people were behaving toward me, as long as I ignored what folks told me about different relatives, I thought that I was okay. I was all right. But then when I ended up having a a health ailment that took place. And then I started connecting the dots to some things. I realized that all of that suppression and ignoring and being real active in all sorts of things was not helping the root issues. It was just masking over some things. And so when I got to that place where I said, okay, Lord, what is it that you're trying to show me? Because sometimes it takes a health ailment even for somebody to say, okay, I'm going to see some things now. I'm going to see the fact that I'm not eating right, or I'm going to see the fact that this person is nothing but toxic in my life. I'm going to see the fact that I can get up out of this mess. I've been making up some excuses for far too long. I gotta do something because I don't want their stuff jumping on me. You see, I mean, when you just really sit down and you start thinking about some things, that's when, the Lord will say, okay, are you ready? Or you might have that self-talk that says something like, I gotta move. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. No, I cannot go through this anymore. You see, once your eyes were blind, but now you can see. Sometimes it does take the help of others. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes God's going to send people to give us the kind of information for us to start making necessary arrangements. Then there are times where there is nothing that we're supposed to do. It's all going to be on that other person. God says, sit down, be quiet. Don't say anything else. I know what's ahead, and I'm moving on this person to make necessary changes. So you just stop saying what all you got to do when you know you don't have all the resources right now. This is on this other person. You see, if they don't want you at the organization anymore, guess what? They're going to make sure that sooner or later they get you out of the organization. You don't have to do anything but just do your job. If they don't want you anymore in a relationship or what have you, and you know that, hey, I don't have money for the attorney, I don't have money for the witnesses, I don't have money for the private investigators and everything else, and they don't like you, don't want to be with you, I don't love you or whatever, sooner or later, they, as well as whoever else is around them, is going to move on them to go ahead on. Why don't you get a divorce? Why don't you get a divorce? See? So all of these things I'm telling you about are real issues, are some things that I'm familiar with. And the thing is that as long as you refuse to not blind yourself or allow others to blind you with all of their little cliche statements and so forth, you're going to be all right. Because you got God, you see, because you humbled yourself, you cast away the rebellion and the pride and the stubbornness and the unforgiveness, and you allow God to work. And when you allow God to work, you don't know what could have been a bad situation turns out to be a good situation. You see, what somebody meant to do, they may end up not doing. That person may go through something that is so terrifying, so upsetting, or what have you, that it humbles them. And now they're not coming at you with fire. They're not coming at you, fighting you every step of the way. Oh, I changed my mind. That happens all the time. The Lord can allow certain things to happen where people change their mind about some things. I was going to do this, but you know what? I realized, having gone through A, B, and C, and whatever they may share with you might hurt you to the core. But if that's what it takes for them to see, then we just have to ask the Lord to just help us truly hear what they have to say, and not be judgmental and not be argumentative and not want to fight them. Because sometimes the truth can be so cutting to the point where you want to just totally hurt somebody from the top of their head to the soles of their feet rather than pray for them. Because truth is such a cutting thing at times. But hey, you don't want the blinders anymore? Go to the Lord, tell him, I don't want these blinders anymore, these rose-colored glasses, Lord, I need to see. And what he shows you, it's not going to always feel comfortable. It's not going to even feel right, but it's truth though. You see, it's not the lie anymore. It's the truth. And some people are blinded by a lot of lies. That's why they don't get out of relationships a lot of times, because they're blinded by the lies. That's why a lot of folks don't end up leaving organizations or leaving abusive relationships or whatever because they fed themselves a lie and other people have fed them a lie. So that is it. May God bless you. I just take this moment right now to pray for this listener who just wants truth in all its forms. And I pray, Lord Jesus, that you will give this individual the truth and that they will receive the truth. Sure, Lord Jesus, it hurts because you told me this in the course of my years, but I've received it and I'm a better person because of it. And so I pray that this individual will do the same. And I pray that you will be with this person every step of the way. Take the blinders off. Take the rose-colored glasses off in Jesus' mighty name. And God will do just that. Okay? All it takes is mustard seed faith. That's all it is. Just a little bit of faith, right? You believe that God is going to show you some things about your situation, about a person, a place, a thing, what have you. Believe it, okay? But once again, keep those blinders off your eyes. And if somebody you know, if they refuse to take the rose-colored glasses off or they refuse to take the blinders off their eyes, well, you just got to watch that movie, right? But you can pray from a distance. There's nothing wrong with praying for someone, but don't let that person's issues consume your minds, right? Consume your spirit, because then the next thing you know, you end up not looking like a child of God, but looking like a devil. And that person is not going to take too kindly to somebody shoving stuff down their throat. Okay. So don't be that one. Well, blessings to you. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. You've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Subscribe today. Also, we do welcome donations. Thank you for listening.